Hello. So, issues keep coming up amongst the vegan community in lots of different ways, and lots of times the same things get brought up over and over again because we have a constant influx of new vegans, new people looking into the actual whole idea of not consuming animals. So every new influx of people start bringing the same arguments up over and over again. And the worst thing at present, and well, it's always been so anyway, it's just the fact that we all have different ways of going about using our activism, trying to talk for the animals, and we are a voice for the animals regardless of whatever way we do it, even if it's offensive, even if it upsets people, and of course if we do it nicely to people. All of them work. There is always arguments about what is the most effective. Now, this is the same sort of argument that goes on for everything. Every individual subject in politics, every individual subject anywhere, sport or whatever. There's ways that everybody is trying to work to find a specific or helpful way to pass the message on, to get the message through to people. And it's a bit of a non-argument. It's a non-argument at all to be saying it must be done this way. We mustn't use these terms. We mustn't use that terms. It's a waste of time. It's purely a waste of time. And while we constantly talk about these issues of what we say and how we say them, it takes our time away from talking about animals. We can't let issues expend masses of our time, which it is doing amongst many vegans. Too many of us are taking time to discuss these issues instead of getting on with getting at people harming and consuming animals. Sure, I mean, it can be useful if we bring those issues up with actual people consuming animals. If we bring those issues up with them, then that is fine, because of that is we are at least still talking about animals when we do that. But to be talking amongst ourselves and upsetting each other is wrong. I implore anybody who looks through any type of media or whatever to sort of watch for things that take us away from focusing on stopping the animal agriculture, because of things that do. It wastes hundreds of vegans' times, and what we do is we say, like we use the word, like the words that we use, and the ones that are coming up obviously at the moment are murder, rape, and Holocaust. It doesn't matter whether we use them or whether we don't use them, but their use simply within context of explaining what is happening to animals is perfectly right. You can either do it by actually explaining the, by actually saying those words, or, which I think is probably a bit more effective, is to actually ask about those words, show or describe something happening to an animal, and then ask the person you're talking to imagine what that is. Just to ask them, what is that, what is that is happening, if you were to put it in human terms. Most of the time people will say it's murder and Holocaust. Less so they mention it rape, but they do equate it to rape as well if you ask them the question, and they'll actually bring the words up themselves without you having to say so. It won't all the time, of course, but if the specific thing being shown or described is clear enough to them, most of the time they will actually use those words to describe the equivalent term in human terms, sort of thing. But we need to not do that. We need to not get involved in too much of the argument about the. It is useful to know what is most effective. Yes, it's useful, but when you're talking to somebody, the most useful isn't always what is going to be best with that person. Some people need the direct words and things actually saying to them to actually take it, because of you have forceful people. Forceful people are the ones who deal directly with the whole truth without a political softening of the actual argument. You see, when you've described or shown something, and those people that come up and then they actually say that it is that they believe it is the equivalent, it is Holocaust and murder, they are just stating the absolute reality of what they actually see and what they know it actually is. The ones that don't, they know what it is. They know precisely what it is. They know that it is the same equivalence. They know it is. But they will deny it. They will deny it, and they will say that's wrong. And they'll use just those words to sort of say, "Oh, you can't call it a human thing that's done to an animal." Of course you can. It's the same with rape. I mean, even in legal law, rape was not actually called rape if the rape was done when people were married. And it was only in 1992 that changed. It's before 1992, if a woman was raped while they were married to the person, there was no way that it was rape, and the chances of any prosecution were almost nil, unless there was lots of violence involved. But it's just incredible. So the actual term, say the word rape, murder, Holocaust, the actual term of it changes, and it changes in definition. You can go back to dictionaries years ago. look up any dictionary years ago and you'll find words that have got different meanings to what they are now. They've been interpreted differently. All we're doing is interpreting the rape, Holocaust and murder to animal terms, which are correct in every way of the actual actions that happen. There's no easy way to sort of put it. I mean, most of the detail of what I'm sort of getting at here is that I've already said here. I can only put more variations on it, and of course that's part of the problem of the whole issue, is that because everybody can sort of talk in different ways about this, that and the other sort of thing. It purely is time wasting when the simple truth should be what is taken into account. Issues about it or whatever should only ever come up afterwards, but the simple truth should be implemented. We've got no excuse to be doing what we're doing to animals at all. Just today, trillions of lives, individual lives, are being harvested by humanity. 7 billion people on Earth are a monster, an alien to life on this Earth. You only have to look around us right here now. A desolate area, devoid of almost all life. There's not even a bird in sight in this small area. The plants that are around this area, of all the plants that in this area, the small few that there are, have only been planted by other humans before. There's absolutely nothing in this actual spot, even with what is growing at the sides. Nothing, almost nothing is natural here. It is human created. We've wiped out what was the wild area that was here, that probably in this area would have been forest and hills and streams. So we do need to make it. We need to change. We do need to change, definitely. There's no hope for this planet if we carry on the way we are. We must change. There's the talk of different issues we need to not worry about, as long as we just focus within our own minds that all we're doing is we're doing as much as we can to help animals. To do this, don't stay with the arguments, other than learning about maybe the issues themselves and whatever, but don't stay with it in an actual argument. If you have something to say, just say it, make a statement, put a statement out, and try your best not to go back to it, not to reply to any answer put to it. I know it's difficult and it's almost impossible in many cases, because I've done that myself. I've put out messages, and because of when you put out a message, you read it yourself and you can see that it's not fully explanatory. And so when somebody else puts a comment that doesn't actually fit with what you've just said, it sort of plays on your mind. So regardless of what that situation might be, I would still try to say, and I always do in a lot of cases, I just put out a message on any stream or whatever, and just leave it, because of the truth is it's still within it anyway, even if it's not fully understandable to everybody. The message is still there, and the message will be read by others that will understand it. So just don't worry about it, go away from it, go on to the next place. And one of the bigger things that we have as well is that quite a lot of vegans get sort of get trapped in only talking to other vegans, and that's part of what we like to feel as a community, that we can actually speak to each other and whatever. But of course that's when other arguments come up as well. But also when we're doing that, it means that we're not actually outreaching people who are still consuming animals. So what I'd like to say to anybody is that if you're constantly in vegan groups a lot of the time, just try to at least once or twice a day go onto an outside group, say on whatever platform you're on, go onto their group and make a truthful statement about what is happening to animals. It doesn't matter. Try to go for ones that have some sort of relation towards what is happening to animals. So the virus in general the present pandemic in general is quite a good one. Just go on to anything talking about that and just post a statement about animals on it, because a lot of the talk in those channels are generally talking about everything else except the animals. And even though the animals are directly related to absolutely everything to do with the pandemic. So yeah, just go to those, do that once or twice a day if you're not already doing that on a regular basis anyway, just to keep getting the message out to animal abusers and users and killers, just so that it's getting out there amongst the actual people that need to be hearing the truth. Yeah, so that's basically it. I'll leave it at that. That's got quite a bit of detail there. Yeah, post any comments if you want to sort of say anything about it or whatever. I just thought I'd needed to give some sort of messaging about those issues, and I think I may try to think about it a bit more and maybe do another video about it in a week or two, because we really do not need to worry about the descriptions that we put out, the way we do the things, as long as we're actually doing it. It's better to be doing it and even if it's slightly wrong, the truth is still there. Even if it offends, the truth is still there. And people that get offended are generally going to remember the message even more than people that just say things without the controversy. The people that say things without a controversy, or some sort of thing that really spikes in people's minds, they forget those conversations. They need to have something that will actually spike in their mind, that means that they remember it over and over again, because the truth within that controversy will actually come to them at some point. I'll leave it at that anyway. This has been long enough. Okay, speak to you again soon.